Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. Now, I hate to disappoint you, but I don't know everything there is to know about the Bible. Please try to contain your astonishment. However, I must admit that until I started preparing this morning live stream topic, I had never heard of Asaph before. Chronicles just happens not to be on my can't wait to read list. In fact, I have read it before, probably once. You see, most of Chronicles tells the same stories you have in 1st and 2nd Samuel and 1st and 2nd Kings, and I spent a lot of time with those books. So going through Chronicles is like watching summer reruns with some of the good parts cut out. But Asaph is mentioned only in Chronicles, and here's how he comes into God's story. You may remember that the most significant king in early Israel was David. King David fought lots of battles and gave the nation peace and security. And when all his enemies had been defeated, King David wanted to build a temple. You see, all this time, while they had been in the Promised Land, ever since the Exodus, the Ark of the Covenant, which held the tablets of stone with the 10 Commandments, had been kept in a tent. That tent was called the tabernacle, and it was the right place as long as Israel wasn't established and might need to move from place to place. But once they were established, David thought, it's time to build a temple. But God told him no. It would be the job of his son, Solomon, to build the temple. So that was that. But in the meantime, worship of God was going on in that tabernacle, and one thing David does do is appoint his own music director. He appointed Asaph to lead the choir in the tabernacle. Some years later, after David had died and Solomon took the throne, he did build a temple, and then they dedicated it. It's all detailed right there in 2 Chronicles 5. Now, since it's not captivating reading, perhaps you have missed some of the details. The Ark of the Covenant was brought in, carried on such long poles that they stuck out from the area called the Holy of Holies, and although you couldn't see the Ark, you could see the poles. The lid of the ark had 2 cherubim sculpted in such a way that their wings went up and met, providing a covering shelter for the ark. And during the dedication, the presence of God so filled the place in a cloud that people had to leave, and everyone was reminded of the cloud that God was in throughout the Exodus. And in the middle of all this, Asaph had pulled together a mass choir to sing God's praises. The other choirs were led by Heman and Jeduthun, and they sang in different areas, but for this event they all came together. There were musicians who played cymbals and tambourines and more, but their chief job was to sing. And the song they sang on this day was a song of praise to God. For he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. Just imagine the scene. Amidst all the grandeur of the procession of the ark, all the priests, the fine robes, the cloud full of God's presence, there was this mass choir reminding everyone of God's steadfast love. Here in Advent, we need that reminder too. It's no accident that Christmas falls very near the shortest day of the year. In that time when our lives are filled with darkness, that's when God sends the light of the world. The song of Asaph and all the choir reminds us that God is a God of steadfast love. God's love never fails. And it's because of God's love that he's sending Jesus. So, Asaph was ancient Israel's music director. However, his song belongs to us all. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.